evening, this is Newsline. I'm Michael Chigani. Tonight, Executive Councillor Ronald Arcali to talk about the great political changes we're now seeing in Hong Kong. Thank you, Mr. Ronald Arcali, for coming back on this show. You were here quite some time back. As I said in the introduction, Mr. Arcali, it's big political changes happening in Hong Kong. You're now the Executive Councillor, the convener of the Executive Council, which is the body that advises the chief executive, but I think you will not be continuing under the new chief executive, Mr. Siwa Leung. Why is that?
Very simple reason. He hasn't asked me, and apart from that, I think new blood and new thinking will be very good for Hong Kong. You know, us old war horses have been around, for a little bit.
You've been around a long time.
A little bit, yeah. I was a late starter, but stayed a bit. So I think it's a good idea.
But, you talk about new blood, Mr. Arcali. You have been in Executive Council for a long time. You've been in the political scene of Hong Kong for a very, very long time. Aside from new blood, shouldn't some veteran people also remain rather than having big changes or right away, just overnight?
I'm sure there will be. I think, it's entirely up to Mr. Leung, who should go in his team, which is entirely right. Yeah, he's been elected chief executive. And, from the press coverage that we've seen over the past couple months, there will be some experience and some veterans and
would
indeed
you
some new blood.
He asked you?
I think that's academic.
He's not going to ask you.
The one thing that I've learned in my life is don't answer hypothetical questions.
He's not going to ask you, right?
I have no idea.
From what I understand, it might be a difficult question for you, Ms. Arcali. From what I understand, as a newsman, you and Mr. Siwa Leung don't really see eye to eye on many things.
I'm not sure that's entirely correct.
It's partly correct.
It's partly correct, but that happens in politics. Happens, in the best of families, as they say. Not that we're in the same family, but it's healthy to have disagreement.
Politics is such that if you don't agree, sometimes it would be better not to work together.
I think it depends on the circumstances. I think, if you are in the legislature, that really is, par for the course, that you do disagree with, some of your colleagues. At the end of the day, there is a decision-making mechanism within LegCo where you vote. If you prevail, then that's fine. If you lose, then you move on to the next item.
But it's funny, you were in the Executive Council, and so was Mr. Siwa Leung, and he was the EXCO convener.
Correct.
The job you have now taken over when he left to run for Chief Executive. You just mentioned about Executive Council, how you work together. When you reach a conclusion, then you push forward with that. There were many times that critics of Mr. Siwa Leung said that he was in the Executive Council, decisions were made and taken, and then he comes out and then he criticizes those decisions. Was that right of him?
Well, one of the difficulties being an executive councillor and being a convener is no different, is that you're not allowed to discuss the decision outside of the council unless you've been asked to push and to assist the process of either policy or legislative innovation or initiation. So it's kind of difficult, for me sitting here to actually deal with your question, on
but
that
it's
basis.
been known that there was criticism, but Mr. Siwa Leung came out and started talking about decisions which he wasn't supposed to.
Well, I mean, that's the rumor, but, that's not been confirmed. So I'm certainly not the person to sit here to say yes or no. I've only been in for 7 years, and he's been there much longer.
Well, tell me this. He's now quite popular as a CE-elect. He's pushed the right buttons. He's appealed to the grassroots, and he is trying to get support from ordinary people. He's said things about fixing the housing problem and so on. Some people say he is too pushy, like the way he's pushing for his government restructure plan, expanding the accountability system, getting new people in, creating new posts. Some people say he's getting too pushy. Do you think, as a longtime veteran, political expert in Hong Kong, that he is antagonizing the political situation in Hong Kong? He's antagonizing the Legislative Council?
Michael, I think you've got to put it in a proper context. The election was the fourth week of March. So from that time until the 30th of June, you have just over 3 months. And to try and get your team into place, obviously you hope that the legislative process will go very smoothly. And I, for one, would stand up for the fact that I believe his chosen structure, and indeed in future his chosen team, is entirely within his prerogative. Now,
whether you agree with that, the way he's done it or not, is something else.
That's neither here nor there, but that is the reality of politics. He's chosen the structure, and he will announce his team in due course, and that's the team that he will work with for the next 5 years. And in his policies, in his manifesto, that's what he's going to push. So I think from that perspective, to argue with him now, and particularly when we're in a logical election year, so people are doubting whether those that disagree with him are posturing for their own re-election come September.
But don't you think that the Legislative Council members, they have a right to say, you are asking us to do this, we have to look at it. You just can't say to us, this is what you want, and we'll approve it. Then we become a rubber stamp.
He and his team have said, yes, you're entitled to look at it, you're entitled to challenge it, but please...
But please do it before a certain date.
No, but please, give this thing a fair hearing, and hopefully you'll do it before the 30th of June.
And he's been pushing for it now all the time. That should be done before the 30th of June, and Legislative Council said, no, we want to look at it, we want to take our time looking at it because it involves public money. Don't you think that's right?
Michael, I think in fairness, if you look at the things that LegCo has been doing, take our time to look at it. The filibustering is not take our time to look at it. The filibustering is over and above and beyond reasonable time. Filibustering is a tactic. It's a political tactic.
But it's a democratic tactic.
It may well be, but as far as that's concerned, obviously your President Chung Yuk-sing has made a ruling, and it was challenged in court, and the court upheld his ruling.
So you think that the plan that CY Leung wants to get through Legislative Council to restructure the government should be passed before the June 30th?
I believe so. I believe so. And
you think it should be?
And we have 5 years, to monitor that, to challenge that, and hopefully for Hong Kong, everything goes smoothly. In which case, that will be end of story, and we'll be back in 2017 with...
Look at it again.
No, with direct election for the chief executive.
Right. Well, tell me this. Mr. Leung said many things. He says he'll fix the housing problem. He'll try and fix the wealth gap. Some days ago, he even said he's going to use Hong Kong's huge reserves to fix all these problems. You have been in ESCO for a long time, Executive Council, and so has he. Do you think the things that he has said he's going to do are actually doable so quickly? Use the reserves, fix the wealth gap, use the reserves, make housing more affordable to everybody. It's just talk to a lot of people.
Well, I think he should be given the chance. If you live by the sword, as they say, you die by the sword. So when you make a promise, you obviously try your best to deliver.
Is it doable? That's what is it? You've been around a long time, Mr. Alcali, Is it doable? Is it possible to bridge the wealth gap in Hong Kong?
I think you can.
All democratic societies.
I think you can reduce it. I think definitely you can. But the question is, as a matter of policy, what methodology do you want? Obviously, some countries have tried to reduce that by introducing programs like Workfare, i.e., you don't just get welfare; you've got to work for it, with mixed success. So every community is different. So there may well be some very new thinking within his team to see how we can bridge
bridging the
that.
gap is not new thinking, Mr. Akali. Donald Trump, the current chief
it's not
executive,
new
wants to
thinking.
bridge the gap too.
What I meant by new thinking is that new methods, different methods. You push the envelope a bit. You might be a bit more generous. You might
Will
be.
that antagonize the political situation in Hong Kong? Because the business sector, for example, may be very uncomfortable. And you're in the business sector.
The business sector, as far as I'm concerned, politically is a serious disappointment. They
What do you mean?
They have not invested in what they believe in terms of politics. Where have they brought out politicians that represent the business interests, or indeed the middle class or the upper middle class, call it what you may?
You've got the Liberal Party, which you were a member of.
No,
once.
you've got the functional constituency, which we all knew from day one was the transitional arrangements.
It should go.
It's slated to go in 2020.
But completely, not fiddle around with the system. That's the Democrats now feel that would happen.
Unfortunately, you've got to overcome the 2/3 hurdle of voting in LegCo.
But do you think it should go completely?
I think so, yes.
Completely, no more functional constituencies.
No more functional constituencies.
So you said the business sector has failed Hong Kong
has failed themselves.
by not producing politicians that could represent them in the Legislative Council.
Well, it's done every part of the world, Michael.
You've got David Lee, who represents the banking sector. You've got various industrialists who represent the manufacturing sector.
You've heard what my good friend David said. I wish I never entered politics.
That was, he said, done it for 20-something years. Which,
yeah.
Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think he means it either.
So, but he expressed frustration. Are you frustrated?
No, I think if you are a citizen of Hong Kong, you shouldn't be frustrated, because you only have yourself to blame.
How should the business sector have done what you say they should have done?
I think you either support people that share your policies and belief, or you invest in your own people and ask them to play a part in politics. That should be encouraged.
Okay, we'll pick it up after the break. See you soon, don't go away.